Welcome to Emery Thompson Machine. I'm Steve Thompson, president of the company, and I want to show you a little about what we make. 116 years ago, my grandfather, Emery Thompson, was using one of these in a department store in New York City to make all his ice cream. An old expression, necessity is the mother of invention. I never knew what that meant until it was explained in relation to my grandfather. He was working so many hours running this machine that he had to find a better way to make ice cream. So he took the concept and the taste and the texture of rock salt and ice and turning a crank and turned it into the world's first mechanized batch freezer. He received a patent for that, again, 116 years ago, and it said that just about every ice cream that you have ever eaten, any gelato, dairy-free, Italian ice, is all based on his original patents for a batch freezer. Let me show you some of our lineup. We make a bunch of different size machines depending on your needs. First, we have the CB100, which makes 1.5 quarts of product, whether it be dairy-free or gelato or ice cream, in about 22 minutes. It runs on regular house current, so it's an ideal machine for a test lab or perhaps a small wine and cheese business that wants to add some wine sorbets to their menu. Over here is a 24-quart batch freezer. This makes 2 tubs, those 2 tubs like you see at Baskin-Robbins. It makes 2 of those in 8 minutes of any flavor that you want. Over here is the CB200. This makes 3 quarts. It's a very popular model for restaurants who want to add sorbets, ice creams, and gelatos to their dessert menu. It's also priced right so that an entry-level business can get started. Like all my machines, it's designed to be able to run 24 hours a day and last for decades. This is the world's largest production batch freezer. This is the 44-quart. It makes 11 gallons or 44 quarts in approximately 12 minutes. It's a real workhorse. This is what you work up to. We put Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry into business with this size machine. Over here is our CB350. This is a countertop machine that for our purposes today we have mounted on a stand, which makes it very handy for moving it around, but it'll fit on any countertop. It'll fit on any workstation table. It's an ideal machine size-wise. It's the largest selling batch freezer in the world. And we have over 38,000 machines running in 171 countries. And this has become the most popular machine in the world to buy to get into business. It makes 6 quarts of ice cream in 8 minutes, Italian ices, sorbets in about 14 minutes. It's enough production that it'll get you into business and keep you into business. And it's very well priced so that it's affordable to get you into that business. And lastly, over here we have a 12-quart, which you'll notice looks exactly like the 24, because it is exactly like the 24. Only the barrel is half as deep as the 24-quart. The price difference between the 12 and the 24 is so small that when I speak to you or our sales manager, Christy Brown, speaks to you, we're going to be happy to tell you about the 12-quart, but for $2,000 more, you'll have double the production. That's important because it's not just double the production in an hour. It's half your labor cost because you're making twice as much product. Now let's go over here and I will show you our freezing cylinder. This is something we're very proud of. In 116 years, I don't believe that we have ever had to replace a freezing cylinder. They just don't wear out. The key to the freezing cylinder is that it's 6 times thicker than any other cylinder on the market. Now, what does that mean for you besides it's more heavy duty? It means that you can use very, very warm water to clean out the machine instead of other people's machines where you have to use cold water. Warm water will do the job much faster, and it's so sturdy we're the only machines on the market that you can put nuts, candies, cookies right into the machine. That's important because I can get a much better flavor profile if I can put half my Oreo cookies into the machine, let the machine grind them up, and so you have your Oreo cookie taste. And then the second half of the cookies, I break each one between my thumbs to get about 4 pieces. I do that in advance, and I'm shaking them in as the ice cream comes out. So I have my Oreo cookie flavor in the machine. If you were blindfolded and tasted it, you'd say, yep, that's Oreo cookie. But you can't, we eat with our eyes too, and you can't see the pieces. So now I'm going to add the pieces, and I'll have both. I'm going to switch over here to our dashers. A dasher is an old-fashioned term for the piece that goes inside the machine and scrapes the ice cream off the walls. Most companies call it a beater, but we go by the old-fashioned term dasher. Our dashers are unique to the industry. That's a 24-quart dasher with our spring-loaded system. We've had it now for about 12 years. We call it new because in the scale of 116 years, anything that's younger than 30 years is new. But this dasher system is fantastic because the Delrin blades are going to scrape the walls extremely efficient because of the springs. The blades are spring-loaded so that they're putting heavy tension against the walls. Now, while other people's Delrin blades last about 4 to 6 months, the average lifespan of an Emery Thompson set of blades is about 6 years because the springs, as heavy as they are, just keep pushing the blades against the wall to scrape the product. So that's what the innards of the machine look like and what the product lineup is. Now we're going to head out to the main assembly building and show you how we build our machinery. This is our main assembly building. I designed this when we came down and built it in record time, about 8 months. No one had ever seen anything being built that fast. But since the Bronx was kind of dark and dingy, I raised the roof on this building to give it more of a light, airy feel. I put in bay doors everywhere, not for loading, unloading trucks per se, but to bring more light into the building because we overlook an airport here in Brooksville, and we're at the end of the runway. Today we have the air conditioning on, and so everything's closed up, but when we get around to the winter and it drops down to a frigid 70 degrees, we'll open up all the doors and have this beautiful light coming in here. Right over here are machines that were just completed in the last couple of days and are being shipped out to worldwide locations. This one over here is going to Trinidad and Tobago. These are CB350s, the countertop ready to be shipped out, the world's largest selling machine. Here's one going to Puerto Rico. That's going to be a 44-quart, the world's largest production batch freezer. And let's see, back over there, this one's going to Alabama. Now, I said before, we hand make all our machines. So here are some machines under construction. We build the frame for the machine, which I'll show you in a bit. And then we start plugging in the components, many of which we make. Others are made in the USA components. This compressor is a Copeland scroll compressor. A Copeland scroll compressor is like a Mazda engine. Instead of it pounding itself back and forth, it's spinning around in a circle. It's 34% more efficient than any other compressor on the market. It costs more, but my goal is to build a machine that will last 40 years and has the world's best components in it. There is not one piece of Chinese in my machines. Other machines you're going to look at are all made overseas. They're either made in China or they're made in Italy, and they in the Italy machines, they often have American-sounding names, and yet they're loaded with Chinese parts. And currently, they're in bad trouble because their supply lines are broken. My supply lines consist of Brooksville, Florida, the state of Florida, and then the United States of America. That's as far as we have to go to get our parts. So this is a water-cooled 24-quart being built. It's under pressure test. We load it up with the Freon gas, or actually we load it up first with nitrogen gas and let it sit for 3 or 4 days. We mark down the temperature in the building and the date and time that we did it, and we'll come back in 3 days. And if those needles haven't moved, then the machine is perfectly built with no leaks and it's ready to go on to final assembly. Here's 20-quart frames. This is what they look like. We used to paint these back in the Bronx with Rust-Oleum, and the paint would last about 25 years. Well, that's not good enough for me. So nowadays what we do is a process called powder coating. We send these out to a business within the industrial park here in Brooksville. and they spray them with a powder, but it's put on, it's not a liquid, it bonds to the metal and stays there forever. In fact, if you're ever buying outdoor patio furniture, look for powder coating. It'll last forever. It'll never wear out. These are the cylinders we talked about. This is a 44-quart batch freezer, and that's the largest cylinder that we manufacture. That's placed in the machine. After we hand-made the cylinder, we wrapped it in the copper tubing. We then foam insulated it so the cold only goes in one direction, and now it's ready to be continued to be built. We'll go over here a bit. This is our parts department, some of it, in through here. Like I said, we have parts going back, they're all American made, and we have parts going back to 1960. That just doesn't seem like a long time ago for us. But if you need a part, you can call here this morning, and most likely it'll be out to you this afternoon. And if you want to have it overnight by 8:30 tomorrow morning, so be it. You just tell us, we'll make it happen. I'll let the camera pan into this while I tell you what you're seeing. That's a 40-quart right there being built, and behind it is a 24-quart. That's the front door. It's all cast stainless steel, and it's a forever door. We have never had to replace a door. It's just one big heavy casting, and it's beautiful. Down here is soldering going on, connecting the all copper lines. Again, no aluminum, just all copper, and everything handmade. Jerry here is connecting up Freon gauges to it to start the testing process, and later on he will charge it with Freon gas in a few days and test it more, and then it'll go over to our testing area where we actually make product on it for 3.5 hours. Here's a frame I was telling you about. We chopped and cut all the angle for this frame. We welded it together, and this one's ready to be sent out to the powder coater. So that's a 40-quart frame, and just to give you the idea of the strength and build of these machines, that's it. That's how we build them. This is our welding department minus the welder. So I can't show you much with him taking a brief break. Over here, this is the angle iron as it comes in from our sources, which we will chop and cut to become the frame. I see the sign no dumping. That doesn't mean no trash. That means this stuff is so heavy. When we bring it in on a forklift, please don't just drop it on the ground, put it up on the racks, because otherwise no one can lift it. Back in here is our woodworking shop, and we're getting ready to crate up this 24-quart batch freezer. It's domestic, so it's going on a heavy wood skid with an even heavier cardboard box, and this will be delivered to the street in front of your building. If we were sending this overseas, we have one going to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia very soon, and that will go in a full wood crate, and we're going to fly it on a 747 over to the foreign country. This is polishing, where we're putting the final polish. The doors have been ground and formed out of one solid block of stainless steel, and one casting of stainless steel rather. And there's about 16 hours of machining that goes into this before it finally goes onto the machine. Let me try to pick one up for you. I think they get heavier every year, but that's the door. And compare that to a cheap plastic door on any other machine. There's nothing like it. That's our Rolls-Royce emblem right there. Back in this department, we're building the countertop machines, the CB350s. I'll let Mike just walk around with the camera. We're building the CB200s, the 350s, and the 100s in this separate area. Again, all handmade. The 350s you're looking at right now, again, the largest selling batch freezer in the world. We sell a lot of them, and we build them in batches, and then they go out as soon as they're completed. These are all right now under pressure test. We'll go out this way. Now this doesn't look much, but of course when the doors open it's a gorgeous view. But this is what's unique to us. Even BMW only tests about 1 in 100 cars. We test every single machine, no matter what its size, for approximately 3.5 hours. We have a big tank of Italian ice, which is sugar and water, and we pump it down into the machine, and we test every aspect of the machine to make sure it makes the Italian ice in proper speed. Italian ice, because it's a cheap way to test as opposed to ice cream. We'd all be out to here if we were having ice cream like that. And it's even more rigorous on a machine than is ice cream. A lot of the other batch freezer companies will shy away from admitting that they make Italian ice because they know their machines won't hold up and they do not want to have a headache. Back in here is electrical, where we're building the electrical components. In the back there, Jim is working on our transmissions with the built-in drive motor, all one unit that plugs right into the machine. Very simple, extremely reliable. The design of those is German, and they are made in New England. These are CB350 frames, so as you can see, we are getting ready to build a lot of them, as we always are. We used to have a little bit of a slow season in the wintertime, but now we're just year-round, always at full capacity. We have 2 other buildings. There's one up the street, which is one of our machine shops, and then we have one across the street, which is another machine shop, supplying us with all the parts and components that we hand make to go in here. So that's Emery Thompson, and we're looking forward to your phone calls, emails, any way you want to contact us. If you'd like to speak to me, you can just call up and say, "Can I speak to Steve?" And they'll put you right through the president and CEO of the company. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the convention, and I look forward to talking to you.